Hello. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Today, I wanted to bring awareness to something that for some of us, we're already very aware of this. And for others, it might just be kind of brewing on a non conscious level. And that is the collective energy of what's happening in the world right now. What we're seeing play out on the world stage for many of us is not something that we've ever experienced before. It feels for some of us very scary, very unknown, very foreign. And I just wanted to hold a space where um, we can let it resonate to whatever degree that it needs to resonate for each of us that's here today and who might be listening in the future. But also, what can we do? What can we do, and how is it influencing us? How is it affecting our lives? And then what can we actually do about this? So I think it's really important because there may be some people who are very directly influenced by what's happening right now to the degree that it is all encompassing, quote unquote, what we might call our normal life doesn't even exist for some right now because what's happening on the world stage is just they're very directly involved. For others, um, they may feel or be in a state of blissful ignorance, and that's not a judgment. That's just a state that some people might be in, and I think for many, there's a spectrum in between where people are navigating this space, where there might be some degree of awareness, but maybe not totally understanding how that might be influencing you. And so here's what I will say. The collective energy affects everyone, regardless of whether or not we are directly involved in what is happening. And this is just part of being human in this human experience. And right now, as the collective energy continues to rise in these very strange and wonky ways, what people might be experiencing is a higher level of just confusion in their lives. Um, you might be experiencing things like just a heightened anxiety that maybe you can't quite name. Maybe something directly in your life hasn't changed or shifted, but you feel this like, there's just something inside of me. I just feel anxious. You might notice that you're reacting to situations from more of a place of fear or more protective mechanisms that normally you wouldn't react that way. You may notice tension in relationships, and again, it might be unearthing things that were there that were just never addressed, or it just might be like this unnamed tension. Where is this coming from? What is this about? Nothing's really changed in our dynamic, and yet I'm feeling this like angst towards my partner or my siblings or my friends. You might feel like you're in a room full of people who maybe you love those people, and it's on some level you still feel a little bit distant. You might be feeling this like low motivation, lack of motivation, very tired. You might be feeling the experience of wanting to numb. So maybe you're scrolling a little bit more, maybe you're Netflixing a little bit more. Maybe you notice yourself retreating from relationships and dynamics and spending more time alone. And I'm not saying that any of these are good or bad. These are just ways that we might be responding without being aware of where it's coming from, what's really happening. And I think for me, as humans, one of the beautiful gifts that we have is the ability to bring into our conscious awareness what's happening non-consciously, what's happening in our bodies, so that we then have more choice in our life. Because if we're not aware of these things, if we're not aware of what we're experiencing and what we're feeling, and where it's coming from, we lack choice because we're just going to move on autopilot. And most of the time, we're actually going to be guided through more of a protective mechanism rather than a performance or a thriving mechanism. So for many of us, we might start to see ourselves moving into more protective states. And what this could also look like is, let's say you have this like thing inside of you, this dream inside of you. Maybe you're pursuing a new career. Maybe you really want to be open to a new relationship. Maybe you really want to physically connect with your body and guide your body to be more healthy and vibrant. And these things are inside of you, and for some reason, you're just kind of putting them on the back burner, not really pursuing them in this moment. That would be considered something that's more protective. And there can be a lot of reasons that this happens. It can be on a non-conscious level, your beliefs about whether or not you're capable of achieving those things. There can be so many levels, but if for you, something in your life really matters and there's a change that you would really love to experience, and maybe you were previously even taking actions and then you started to slowly uh, disconnect from the actions or disconnect from like that thing that you really want, this disconnection can also be a protective mechanism that, again, there's layers to it. It can be like an individual disconnection from it around fears or self-doubt or limiting beliefs, but it can also be just on a non-conscious level, a protective mechanism from what's happening in the world, and our nervous system is trying to guide us to conserve energy, because with everything that's going on right now, our systems can be moving more into that fight or flight state. And if that's the case, things like flourishing and thriving and creating change in your life are not the types of things that our body and our brain are going to say, yes, let's divert our energy to this. Like, let's go all in with this new healthy routine. Let's open ourselves up and expand into possibility of a new relationship. That's not what the body and the brain are going to do in this space. They're going to say, let's conserve energy. We might need to fight. We might need to flight. Let's kind of retreat from things. Let's disconnect from those things inside of us that are really important, because in a fight or flight state, the brain and the body go, that doesn't matter. It really doesn't matter if you're healthier, if we don't know if we're going to be here tomorrow. And so what I wanted to offer in this space was some practices and maybe some perspectives that might guide you. If you are one of those people that you're going, yeah, I am kind of feeling, one of those things or more of those things, and I can't quite name it, there's actually a lot that you can do. So spending time, very intentional time in quiet reflection, whether you have a meditation practice, whether it's mindfulness, whether it's journaling, whether it's just like taking a shower and feeling the water drop all over your body, spending just some time in that spaciousness with yourself can be really helpful for the nervous system. It can also be helpful to bring up at times what might be non-consciously influencing you. And that's really valuable. For some, it might be really scary, but it's really valuable because when we bring awareness to what's happening non-consciously, again, we have more choice. And with more choice is a greater degree of freedom. And that can be really important, especially in times when we feel like we don't have a lot of control over what's happening. Having autonomy and personal freedom and personal sovereignty around how we're living our life can be very powerful. So some spaciousness, some intentional mindfulness or meditation, connecting to yourself practices, spending a lot of time in nature, as much time in nature. Nature is designed to regulate us. It really is. And so if you can get up in the morning and spending, 5 minutes within the first hour of getting up, even just 5 minutes outside. I will say the other morning, it was raining pretty heavily when I got up to go and do that. And all I did was open my kitchen door and literally sat in the doorway with the door open, drinking my coffee. And my dog came and sat with me. And it was actually a really beautiful experience. And it also helped guide me into how I can be more resourceful to access the tools that are really meaningful for me, rather than looking out and going, well, it's raining, I'm not going to go and do the thing I would normally do. I was able in that moment to find the small doable piece, and it ended up being really beautiful. So spending time in nature, moving your body, oh my gosh, let things move through you, move your body, go for walks. Walking is one of the most underrated tools for the human system. And if you think about it, before we had cars, before we had bikes, we walked, we were upright. To get anywhere, we moved our bodies. And our world today, the way that for many of us it's set up, we are so disconnected from that constant daily motion of walking. So walking can be really beneficial. to help regulate the body and the brain. I would highly recommend any type of movement practices that honor where your body's at and what you need. Some days your body might need to push some heavy weights and like move some shit around. And some days your body might need like a slow flow or just some mobility and stretching. Again, just some walking, things like that. Pay attention to the food that you're eating because our food directly influences our bodies and our brains and can create a greater level of connection to our bodies and brains, or also can create that disconnection. It can also create that sense of dis-ease in the body depending on what we're eating. So noticing the foods that we're eating, reaching out to trusted friends and sources, and just even if you can't quite name what's happening for you, being able to vocalize that in a safe space can be hugely beneficial. So what that might look like is calling up someone that you feel truly safe and supported by and saying, hey, like I've been feeling really uneasy lately and I don't really know what that's all about, but it feels kind of mucky. It's this energy. And the more that you bring your awareness and your attention to what you're experiencing, the more that the answers may flow through you and come out. And again, that's beneficial on many levels because it brings it to your awareness. And then you go, oh my gosh, this is actually what it is. This is that thing that's been influencing me. And then you can go into a place of like, okay, now that I've seen this, what can I do about it? Nervous system practices, any type of nervous system practices, breathing practices, sensory practices, vestibular practices, vision practice, all of those things are absolutely phenomenal. And right now I'm really, really, really loving the work that Elisabeth Kristof's doing with brain-based wellness. She has a membership where you can go in and access so many different tools and also educates you on the nervous system. I'm really loving that, but there are so many resources right now, really amazing humans out there doing fantastic work, bringing to light the nervous system and how it affects everything in our life, and then gives you very simple practices, and literally as simple as breathing. Breathing is one of the practices. Literally as simple as brushing your teeth. And so if you can do those things every day, it will make a difference in terms of how you're showing up in your life and how you're feeling. And then the last thing that I wanted to offer is that if nothing changes, nothing will change. And choosing not to change is also going to affect you. So we are almost halfway through 2025 at this point, and the collective energy, I think, is only going to get more wild and more confusing and more chaotic. And if we don't start to do something to keep ourselves grounded and connected to who we are, by the end of this year, we could be a completely different person, and not in a bright way. We could be more stressed out. We could be more overwhelmed. We could become more fearful. We could be experiencing more anxiety. We could be more conflict oriented. There are so many things that can happen if we don't choose to take, I don't like the word control, but if we don't choose to take action in our own life that is going to allow us to connect to who we are and have choice in every moment. I mean, you can either by the end of 2025 be in a real place of chaos and overwhelm and stress, or you can be in a place of understanding what's happening in the world around you and knowing that you have choice. And I think that that's really, really important is what are you going to choose in this moment? If you're listening to this right now, what are you going to choose to do? How are you going to choose to navigate that? And are you going to put the truth of who you are and your dreams and these things that are calling you on the back burner because now doesn't feel like the right time? And again, now not feeling like the right time, I would even explore that. Is now not the right time because your brain is telling you it's not the right time, or because your intuition is speaking to you? Because there's a difference between the two. Our brains will constantly tell us to wait till tomorrow because change is uncertain. Growth is uncertain, and our brain can't control that. And so I would just get really curious about that too. But ways that you can ground yourself, I think, is going to be really significant. And the one last thing that you can do, if it resonates with you, and I received this wisdom and reminder from Danielle Page, is if everything just feels like so far beyond your control, we can always do this thing called prayer. And maybe for you, prayer resonates and maybe it doesn't. Maybe it's sending a blessing to the world, or maybe it's just sending a positive thought out into the world. We all have the capacity to do that at any point in time. And the truth is, the way that we think and the way that we feel changes our physiology. It changes our energy field. And so it can immediately not only change our experience, but actually the people who are directly around us and even beyond. So those are a few of the tools that I would offer you as we're navigating this wonky time. And if you want to explore this more deeply, because of everything that's going on in the world right now, one of the things that I will put out, if it resonates for you, is I have opened up 5 spaces for the remainder of 2025 on my one-on-one coaching roster. And what this looks like is providing you a safe, supportive, sacred space to explore the truth of who you are, to unearth the things that might be limiting you or holding you back in your life, and then to bring awareness to your truth, your gifts, why these things inside of you that might be calling you forward are there, and how can you then create a life that truly lights you up with freedom, with ease, and with energy. So if this feels like something that you're interested in, I will put the link in the show notes where you can hop on my website and there's a little form you can fill out and I'll get in touch with you. Again, between now and the end of 2025, what life do you want to create for yourself? What is it that you want to experience? And just remember that choosing not to do anything is also a choice. Thank you so much for being here with me today. I appreciate you. I appreciate your time. I'm sending you love, and I look forward to connecting with you again soon.